This is the Bunny Slippers Are Evil Job Seekers Call-In Show. And now, a word from our sponsors. Evil Bunny Consulting is the job search alternative to expensive outplacement. For more information, go to bunnyslippersareevil.com. Let 3dresumes.net turn your resume into a web page with a customized domain for 12 months for only $30. Help hiring managers and recruiters find you and make your resume available 24/7 and get a free professional email address just for your job search. You can see my online resume at tyronegriffin.com, and to get your own, go to 3dresumes.net. If you are thinking or about to look for a job in today's world, you will find a new reality in the job search process. The world has changed. Job search today is much more complicated than 5 years ago. Volumes of resumes, more applicant screening systems, depersonalized applications, panel interviews, team hiring, long, complicated applications, branding, and social media. Yes, the world has changed. But have you? Are you still trying yesterday's approach? Why struggle and miss out on today's opportunities? Career Oyster is here to help. Great coaches, the latest resources, unique strategies, person tailored to your job search. Find out the new reality and how you can prevent costly mistakes. To register for a free 45-minute private lesson with Howard Caddy, go to careeroyster.com. Find the facts now. You'll be glad you did. Remember their motto, the world is your oyster, be the pearl.
Good morning. Today is Saturday, September 10th, 2016, and this is the Bunny Slippers Are Evil Job Seekers Call-In Show, presented by Evil Bunny Consulting. I'm your host, Tyrone Griffin, and if it's 3 p.m. and you have on your bunny slippers, you are not looking for a job. Welcome, first-time and returning listeners. In this show, we discuss strategies and tactics of job search, staying motivated, and dealing with career transition. For more tips, resources, daily motivations, and to listen to archive shows, go to the website bunnyslippersareevil.com. There you'll also find links to our Facebook page, our Twitter handle, our YouTube channel, and this Facebook Live chats. So for more information, if you have questions, you can call in at 347-202-0929 or hit me up on Facebook Live right here or right there, depending on the orientation of your browser. So, everybody, welcome. Thanks for coming back. We were off last week because I went to Dragon Con and spent 7 hours taking 400 pictures of some of the most interesting people you can see. Just another day in the ATL. So anyway, this week, so we'll call this the first Saturday of the month. And usually on the first Saturday of the month, we do job search Q&A. So you get questions during the week. If you got a question on your job search, you can hit me live now. But I got a couple of questions. First, let me caveat, I am not a career coach. I'm not certified in any of the career planning or life planning. I'm just a person that has been through a lot. I've seen a lot, and I'm just trying to spread a little bit of love to people who may be in transition or who may know somebody in transition. So you take anything I say with a grain of salt or a bag of salt or however you want to do it, but it's just my opinion. So I don't want anybody to get in trouble. However, now if you do take my advice and get a job and want to send me a check, I am more than happy to do that. Real quick, more important thing, the iPhone 7 came out this week and pre-orders are started. So here's the thing. The first 100 people who will buy me an iPhone 7 and send it to me, they will have my true gratitude. Okay, let me get that out. I had to get that out the way because, hey, one of y'all might send me one. So anyway, let's start. This week's first question is, how do you change your job search approach from passive to active, from reactive to proactive? In fact, how do you jump into it? Here's the thing. Historically, and we've all seen movies where somebody has had an interview in the movie, and it's always been portrayed as somebody who's, sitting there and they're very nervous and they're sweating, and, because your family's well-being and livelihood is all based on how well you can nail this interview. But everybody's very humble and, I won't say humble, very passive. You're very subservient. And people go into the interviews in that way. And they go into their job search in that way because they're scared, they need a job, and it's understandable. I mean, when I was in transition a few times, there were times when I was very passive because you're scared. There's so many things going on in your head while you're interviewing or while you're networking, you're afraid of making the wrong step. You're afraid of doing something wrong. I always equate job search to dating. And you know when you meet somebody new and you're afraid of saying or doing the wrong thing with that person, so you get very passive and and guys especially, we are very good at, and this sounds really bad, but we are really good at being perfect gentlemen, while we're courting. But once we gotcha, all of a sudden we forget to open doors, we forget to pull the chairs out for you, we forget to help our partner up the stairs, all that good stuff that we did. Okay, so it's understandable. But when you're in that courting phase, it's just like when you're job searching, you're courting somebody. So you're trying to win the person over. So how do you change? First of all, you got to recognize this. Recognize that you're being passive. Now, I'm not saying be arrogant. I know people. I've seen people be very arrogant. I remember one job search networking event where they did mock interviewing, and then at the end of it, the people that interviewed all of us rated everybody. And there was one guy who they rated as the most arrogant guy in the room. Now, these are all people in transition. These are people looking for jobs. And he, looking for a job, he was still rated the most arrogant person in the room, which is like, wow. And they asked him, why are you, so arrogant? He said, well, the comment they made was, you act like you know more than the person interviewing you. And his response kind of blew me away. He said, well, usually I do, know more than the person who's interviewing me. That may be true, but you don't got to say it. Okay, that to me is one of frankly, the dumbest perspectives to go into an interview. Thinking that you are smarter, that you know more than the person who is interviewing you. That's crazy. Okay, you may know more than that person, but so what? They got a job, And even in life, let's take a step back and think about in life. You will meet people in your daily work, play, whatever, who frankly are dumber than you. And you will meet people who, depending on how you gauge intelligence, they're dumber than you, they're smarter than you. You want to meet people like that. Just because you feel somebody is not as intellectually sound as you is no reason to be an arrogant butt. Okay? It's no reason to do that. Treat people like people. Treat people like you want to be treated. Because trust me, it does all come around. I mean, there are many people in the entertainment industry who were on a rising trajectory and got real arrogant and became jerks. And when they crashed and burned, nobody would touch them because people remember that. Don't go in an interview like that. So there's a difference between being confident and arrogant. That's the big thing. So when you're in job search, what you want to be is confident. You want to exude confidence. You want to ooze it, that you are confident in your skills. You don't want to sit in an interview and, sweat and, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, anything, yeah. Because you got to realize this person is looking at you probably at some point in the future, somebody who may replace them as they move on. They're looking at you as somebody who they want to be able to send into a meeting or any kind of event or whatever's going on, and they're not there, and they want you to speak for them. The last thing they want is a jellyfish, okay, speaking for them. Okay, so first of all, I know it's important. I know every interview is important. I know every networking event is important. I know every time you hand out that business card, it is important. I know that. But have some pride, have some confidence in yourself, in your skills. How do you do that? First of all, is know your stuff. If you have core competencies, 3, 4, 5 core competencies, know them. Know what they are. Have them memorized. We've talked in the past about your star stories, and maybe we'll get into that at some point in a future show. Your stories, if somebody asks you, tell me about a time you did X, and be able to spin your history in a way that answers their question. But you have to know yourself. It's like getting in front of a group of people and doing a presentation. If you know your stuff, if you know your material, and you're confident that there's no question anybody can ask you, then you're fine. You don't have to be arrogant, but you can be straightforward and direct. If you don't know your stuff, and that's when you come across, when you're nervous and you're fidgety, you come across as somebody who does not know their stuff. Okay? You don't want to give that impression. So what do? Again, know yourself. Know your skills. Okay? Know them. Know your resume. All right? Don't just write it and send it. Read it. Understand. Remember these things. Remember, look at your bullets for your different jobs. Have some stories to tell about your different bullets, about your different jobs. Okay? Be able to elaborate, but know yourself. That's the point, is know what you're talking about. If you know what you're talking about, being confident is not a problem. Okay? If you know what you're talking about. If you don't know what you're talking about, trust me, people know. So the first thing, that's the thing, know yourself. Know your background. Know what you're looking for. If that means you have to sit down in a room by yourself for a day and talk to yourself, or write it down so you understand who you are, what you want, what you're looking for. If you understand those things and commit those things to memory, be able to talk about yourself if the time comes without being arrogant. Be able to talk about the things you've done, your experiences, your achievements in a factual manner. Don't embellish. Don't lie. Trust me when I say, you lie, people will find out. And it may not be on this job. It may be 20 years down the road. They will find out you lied on this job. We see it happen every year. Somebody gets caught because their resume embellished something. And, that was 5 jobs ago. But now they're getting laid off. Know yourself. Know what you're talking about. Know your resume. Know what you're looking for. Know your skills. Know what you're good at. Be able to talk about those things. Okay? What's up, Put? How you doing? Newberg checking in the house. I appreciate that, y'all. But know what you're talking about. Okay? Know your background. Know your skill set. You want to sound confident? Know what you're talking about. That's the biggest thing. And when it comes to reaching out to people to try to network, it's easy to put it out there and wait and see what comes back. But the thing is, people want you to make it easy for them. Okay, if you want somebody to reach out to you, if you want somebody to respond back to an email where you have your resume in there, put your email put your phone number in the resume. Put your phone number in the email. Don't make them open your resume to get your phone number. Don't make it easy for them. Make it easy for people to help you. It sounds minor, it sounds simple. Put your phone number in there. Offer a meeting. Say, hey, I'd like to follow up with you on this date. Are you free? Let people tell you no. And they say, well, no, because people say, no, I'm not free on that day, but I'm free on this day. But if you say, call me at your early convenience whenever, and then you don't hear from them, they can, well, it wasn't my convenience. It's not being arrogant. It's being, you can call it being assertive, but it's assertive in a positive way. You don't tell somebody, I'm going to call you at this time, clear your schedule. You ask them, I'd like to call you at this time. Is this a good time, or is there another time that's better? Okay, so put it out there. Make it easy for people to help you. Okay, that's one of those sales techniques. I spent 10 years in sales. Okay, commission sales. You don't sell, you don't eat. Make it easy for people to say yes. That's the secret. In job search, in sales, in dating, relationships, make it easy in life. Make it easy for people to say yes to you. Okay, so you want to change your job search from reactive to proactive, from active to passive. Take a step forward. Take a chance. I'd rather somebody smack me down for pushing too hard than them to hang up on me and look back at me and go, I would have had this guy in, but he was too passive. Okay, it's easier to dial it down. And you can say, I apologize if I overstep my bounds. I'm not saying be a jerk. I am not saying be a jerk. Okay, but it's easier to say, hey, if I ever set my bounds, I apologize. If I was too aggressive, I truly apologize. That was not my intent. Okay, my intent was to move this process forward. Okay, that's very business-like. Period. Okay, so that's how you get out of a passive. You stop waiting for people to do for you. You stop waiting for people to. If you're in sales, especially, you know this, but you take it out of the hands of the customer, because a non-answer is worse than a no because they can ignore you. Make it hard for people to ignore you. Just make it hard. Okay? Don't be a jerk. There's a fine line between being a jerk and being aggressive and being passive. Don't be a jerk. Okay, next question. Here's a good one. How do I explain in job search a questionable past? Questionable past is one of those things where it depends on your definition of questionable. Worst case scenario, you spent the last 12 years in federal prison. How do you put that on your resume? Put it on there. That's how you put it on there. Okay. Now, in job search, the best thing you can do is get past the resume and get to conversations with people. You can get to conversations with people, you can explain anything. If you say spent the last 10 years in prison for whatever, you still got to find a job because you still got to eat. And you go on an interview. If you go on an interview and you're mad because, you spent all this time in jail and, blah, 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 whatever, and you got and all that anger and everything comes out, you ain't getting a job. What you want to do is come across and you don't want to, if somebody says, okay, what were you in jail for? It's none of your business. All right, deuces, have a good day. Unfortunately, that's the reality. If you are a felon, this is the reality. You got to deal with it. Plain and simple. You got to deal with it head on. And it's better for you to present yourself professionally because, see, the pendulum is swung all the way over here. So now you have to swing it all the way back. So when you present yourself at an interview, if you got to go to Goodwill to get a suit, if you got to beg, borrow, and steal a suit from whoever, you do that. But you show up and be professional and be honest. Say, well, I was incarcerated because early age, I got in the wrong people, I made some mistakes, I did that. You don't want to get into litigating your case. If you feel you were guilty, it's irrelevant. You've served time. It's not about the past. You want to get it past that. But the only way to get it past that is to address it. Conversations, let me tell you something. People do not hire resumes. They hire people. People do not buy brochures. They hire people. Anybody in sales can tell you. I send a brochure out. How many sales am I getting from that brochure? Probably not off that brochure. I'm getting sales. That brochure is how I'm getting in the door. And getting in the door is how I make the sale. Nobody's going to hire you off your resume, no matter how stellar it looks. That's why they have the interview process, because they want to see if you can walk and talk straight and not pick your nose during the interview. Okay, that's what the interview is about. This guy going to sit here and fart while we're talking to him. Okay, it sounds crazy till you see somebody do it. But your past is what it is. Now, how do you spin that? How do you spin your past? Well, you spin it in such a way that, what did I do? Because if you have somebody who's willing to meet with you, knowing that you are a felon, they probably have an open mind. So they may ask you the question, what did you learn? Going back to the previous conversation, have some bullets in your head of what you learned. You learned about, maybe you learned, to pick your friends wisely. Now, that's one thing. What did you learn before? What did you learn during your incarceration? You learned about people. You learned how to manage people. What skills did you pick up? Because, if you're in jail for 5 or 6 years or 5 or 6 minutes, you're going to learn something. Okay? What did you learn during that time in jail? What did you learn then that you can bring to my job, to the opportunity that I'm trying to offer you? Okay? That's what they want to know. If they're willing to meet with you knowing that you're a felon, they've left the door open. You got to walk through it. You got to you got to make them understand, you know what, I am not going to go crazy one day and just start shooting up every place. You got to make I'm not going to embezzle, whatever it is, but you got to address it head on. You have to address whatever your past is. You have to address it head on. Okay. What other kind of questionable past can you have? There was another question, and it was kind of related. You job hopped. Now, a lot of you millennials, and you know who you are, you came out of school and you did a lot of this, I don't like this job, and you jumped and you jumped and you jumped from job, and you just, you might have had 2 or 3 jobs in a year. because I didn't like the commute, or I didn't like the boss's hairdo, or all kinds of crazy stuff. And you might have job hopped. So in 5 years, you might have had 7 jobs. Or in 3 years out of college, you might have worked for 5 different companies. Okay? That was stupid if you quit those jobs, first of all. And the reasons for people quitting jobs is crazy. I've heard some really crazy reasons. You got to address that, you know, because every employer has the same question. Will you continue job hopping? Will I bring you in and you job hop to something else? First is, why are you job hopping? Let me explain how jobs work, people, for all you millennials. There's a lot of jobs out there, but there's a whole lot more people looking for those jobs. Okay, there's a whole lot more people looking for those jobs. So if I don't like this about the job, I'm going to leave. And you just up and leave. I'll find a job somewhere. That's going to get old real quick. Okay. Everything you do is recorded. Your resume. Everything you do. Okay. And it will come back to haunt you or to raise you up. Everything you do. So first, hey Sherry, if you got a job, first of all, be thankful, because there's a whole lot of people out there without them. Second, don't walk away from a job for a stupid reason. Do not walk away from a job for a stupid reason. Okay? Stupid reasons are subjective. But don't walk away from a job for a stupid reason. If you have job top, get to the previous section, you got to address that. How do you address job hopping in an interview? Be honest. What did you learn during all that job hopping? Because at the end of the day, it comes down to the same thing. What can you do for me? You know, that's bottom line. What can you do for me? Okay? Job search, dating, what can you do for me? Ladies, y'all know, you meet a man, he look good, you know, but in your mind, because it's like, oh, he look good. What can he do for me? And you know, some of y'all go into that. Oh, I bet he makes some real pretty babies. Yeah, y'all know y'all go there. And guys, we ain't even want to talk about what we be thinking, because you know this is a family show. But if somebody's interviewing you, they're in their mind. What's really in their mind is one simple thing: what can you do for me? And what is your record? And if you've shown, I've been jumping around. Why? That's a simple question. Why you been jumping around so much? Well, my mama didn't like this boss. You say that. If you bring your mama up in an interview, pack your bags and go home. Plain and simple. Just pack your bags and go home. Because you ain't getting that. Unless it's mama's pies or something. But, first of all, don't try to job hop. Don't try to look for that perfect job. Because I'm telling you now, you will not find it in your first 5 to 7 years. Okay, unless you find a job at 22 where they let you sit on the couch with the remote and get paid for switching channels, you ain't finding that perfect job. So stop looking for that first perfect job. All of us who've been out there a minute, we know you will find that perfect job 5, 6, 8, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. And you'll get into a point where you're like, oh yeah, this is it. Okay? That's the reality of it. So stop looking for that perfect job. Get a job that has potential, with a company that has potential, that makes payroll. That's the most important thing. And try to stay with it. But both those questions together about addressing that questionable past. Address it head on. But just know going in. Here's the thing. Look at your resume and evaluate your resume from the standpoint of you are hiring somebody. So try to anticipate what kind of questions people are going to ask you. If you saw this resume sitting in front of you and somebody had 8 jobs in 3 years, what would you ask? What would you want to know? Have answers to those questions. And as I said earlier, the answer of, well, I don't want to talk about that. Yeah, you want to talk about that. Yeah. If you have a past where you were on the front page of the National Enquirer, you be prepared to talk about that. Okay? Police blotter, be prepared to talk about that. If you're on the sexual offender registry, good luck, because I don't know what to tell you in that case. Be point blank. But I would say I pray for you, and then just handle it. Don't apply for a job at a daycare. Probably can't, but don't apply for no jobs like that. But whatever your past, if you've been a felon or whatever it is, be honest and be prepared to be honest about what it is you're looking for. But more so, what have you learned? Okay, I made some mistakes in the past. We've all made mistakes. That's one thing everybody can understand. We've all made mistakes. I made mistakes in the past. I've learned from my mistakes. Here's what I'm going to do to move on. Now, here's a question that I have been asked in an interview. And I'll be honest, it kind of pissed me off, and that's how I came up with my answer. The person asked me, and this was a job that an interview, and I'd driven. Let me back up. For all of you who know how the ATL is, I got an hour and a half commute each way if I'm lucky. Okay, I know, shocked, right? It can be if I went down to my job today, probably take me 50 minutes. I go Monday morning. If I leave the wrong time, it's 2 hours. So I don't mind. My point is, I don't mind that drive. What I was asked in an interview was, they were concerned, and I got this from the recruiter, that they were concerned that my drive was very long. That was one of the reasons I talked about a couple of weeks ago about don't put your address on your resume. Now, how did they find out where I live? They kind of asked, where you live. Technically, yeah, that's one of those questions they can't ask. But they did. What are you going to say? I mean, you're not supposed to answer that question. I'm leaving. Okay. Yeah, I was out of work. I needed a job. They could ask me what shoe size was. I would have answered. But anyway, the question was, how do they know you won't go looking for a better job if we bring you on to this position? In their case, a better job or a job that's closer to home. And I could not give them that assurance because I'm not going to give somebody that assurance. And the reason it annoyed me that they would even ask me that was because, come on, common sense. You look at people who are, any job, you're interviewing with somebody. The job they have right then is not a job they got out of college. It may be 5 or 6 jobs down the road, maybe 2 or 3 different companies. How did they get to those 2 or 3 different companies? Did they get laid off every time, or did they see a better opportunity and they saw it? So then they're going to tell you not to? My response was, I said, this is the opportunity in front of me. I see great potential in my ability to perform this job. But I turned it around on them. I said, if somebody put a position in front of you that was a better match for your family, for your lifestyle, would you not look at it because you are that happy in this job? And I would look at it. I said, so why wouldn't I do the same thing? And yeah, maybe that did lose me the job, but you know what? I was honest about it. Plain and simple. Because that was, to be honest, that is one of them questions. This is one of the dumbest questions I've ever heard. And I don't, people ask it. How do we know you won't take a better job? Well, make this one good enough and you don't have to worry about me looking, do you? But it's not a job. I talk about job searches like dating, but it's not a marriage. It's not. Marriage is forever, or it's supposed to be when you walk down the aisle. A job is, let's be honest, you take a job to move further you along in your career. And you expect that down the road, there will be better opportunities either at this company you're with or with some other company. So for somebody to say to you, the expectation is you will not at least entertain if a better offer, a better opportunity presents itself, is stupid. It's stupid. I mean, again, the person across the table interviewing you, they did it. I always, I think about when kids get recruited into college, by football or basketball or whatever coach, and that coach comes and talks to them in their living room and tells the parents, I'm going to treat your child like my own. I'm going to take care of them. That coach don't guarantee that if a better offer comes on, he's not going to leave, and your child is stuck there. Okay, with a new coach who may not say, I'm going to treat him like my own. Or who may not have kids, maybe Jimmy Johnson, leave his family when he get a good job. So anyway, that's one of those questions that I just, I was like, really, really, you really asked me that question. So that's where I fall down on that. Um, so anyway, recapping real quick. If you missed the beginning of the video, it's on Facebook Live. The first question I had was how do you change your job search from reactive to proactive? How to be more active and less passive? How do you explain a questionable past? Either you're a felon in jail or something worse, which I can't imagine. How do you explain job hopping if you've had a couple of different jobs? And answers to both of those questions, be honest and talk about what you've learned from doing that. That's how you explain it. And the last question was, how do you answer the question if somebody asks you for somebody offers a better, or will you look for a better opportunity in this job? The answer is yes, plain and simple. If a better opportunity comes up, and I said I would be remiss. I think I worded it like that. I would be remiss if I didn't at least explore the opportunity. If a better opportunity presented itself, one that was better for my family, for my lifestyle, and for my future. That's the reality. They couldn't accept that, and apparently they couldn't. So anyway, everybody, thank you again for tuning in this week. I'll be back next week, and we will talk. Mike, good seeing you, man. I'll catch everybody next week. Take care. Bye bye.